back to the class, everyone. Today we have another educational GAC video going on during the off season. We currently don't have to do any GAC matches, so I've got a little bit time myself to look at my roster, see what I can change, see what differences we've seen in the GAC meta over the last couple weeks and into these coming weeks. What can I change? And one of the big things that I was realizing that I needed to change this time around is I had a lot of really good speed mods on characters that don't necessarily need speed anymore. So the whole purpose of this list is to take kind of a broad view of GAC, of everyone's teams, and see what characters that I need to have like 330 or my 170 speed set on. Now that the meta and the characters and the teams and the Omicrons and whatever has changed in such a way, that's really unnecessary. And that speed, which is probably the most valuable mod stat in the entire game, could be much better used on another character. So today we're just going to look at 5 very practical examples. We're not going to do Galactic Legends. I really don't want to ever really do Galactic Legends because I feel like they really limit a roster. All these characters, while some of them are new, or their Omicron makes them feel newer, they're still wildly accessible to the majority of the player base. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So for our first two, what we're going to do here is we're always going to take a pair of one character that you had a lot of speed on, or I had a lot of speed on, at least that's where this is coming from, and where I'm currently moving them to. That being said, and this is true for these two characters, and it's true for really all of them on this list, almost all these characters you still want fast. It's just a difference, and this is going to vary on roster. Do you need your plus 10s or your plus 15s on these characters, or do you need your plus 20s or plus 25s? Like, how much speed should really be on them? So the old character that we're going to be looking at today is Thrawn. Thrawn, for the longest time, was a really, really good character. He still is a really good character, but he was meta-defining in the fact that he was used in multiple off-meta GL counters. And one of the things that really helped him keep up with these was giving him a ton and ton of speed. He needed to be really fast to be able to make sure that he could fracture Rey before she gets so many turns, and since she's super fast, that was an issue. Nowadays, Thrawn just kind of needs to exist. His fracture is still very, very good. He's still a very, very relevant character, but he's not really needing to deal with the same things that he was doing with before. He might still be taking out a Galactic Legend, but he's doing it right next to Lord Vader. So that being said, I think there are also a little bit of value in him being fractured because he loses speed and that fracture lasts longer. That being said, we're still running him decently fast. So we're not running him with 160 speed set. He's not 325 or something, or 335 or something ridiculous like that. 300, I think, is a good speed, and that is going to vary on roster. It's going to vary what we have. But the character that I really, really think needs speed now in his place is Dash. Dash needs a ton of speed. He needs to be. I want him to be faster. I don't have as many mods as I would like to. I'm going to look at moving some more stuff around for him. But I would like him to have even a faster set than this. So Dash's kit, or his team, really has a lot of really great functionality in it. But really what makes or breaks, and I noticed this last month facing this team while it was on my opponent's defense, what would make or break this team is Dash going to go before X, Y, and Z character. If he does, I'm completely hosed because he's going to open up with his Seeker missiles. He's going to land daze. This is unresistible, even though it's not. Actually, it is stated there. It is not. It can't be resisted. And on top of that, with his unique Zeta, he's going to be giving the entire team essentially 30% turn meter. So it's not that she's going out in front and doing nothing. Like, there's a lot of characters that will go out in front and do nothing. He doesn't. He really changes the tide of that entire battle. So I took speed off Thrawn. I gave it to Dash. Move on to our next group here. Got the Ughat. So this one is probably not super new. A lot of you people watching this might have even already done this. This is actually going to be a little awkward because when we look at our Bastila Shan Fallen, I actually just recently upgraded one of her mods, so she's way faster than necessary. The reason why this is coming, yeah, she has a 160 speed set, so that's going to get knocked down. The reason why this is so prevalent nowadays is because one of the main counters for the longest time for Darth Revan was the mirror, and you needed a faster Bastila Shan Fallen to make it happen. There are a lot of other counters that are involved too. Bounty Hunters were a really relevant counter that if she was too fast, that it would kind of ruin them. The way the meta has changed, it's just not necessary. Like, Bounty Hunters are A, killing way higher targets now because of the Zam Omicron, or B, because of the Zam Omicron, they can kill DR, and it doesn't matter if you have a fast Bastila Shan Fallen or not. It doesn't matter if you have a 160 set or not. So we can really start chopping down a lot there because the character that really matters, and this was always a little relevant, was Darth Revan's speed. Raven's speed is still very relevant, but the character that I've been pumping up big time is Kuiil. Kuiil, I just absolutely love this character. He's got both speed and potency, similar to Bastila Fallen. And yeah, we have a 167 set, and if I could make him faster, I would. And he's really cool, because for the longest time, we were just sticking him under BAM lead, and it was becoming a little underwhelming, because people would just throw troopers who were... in the modern speed day, it's not too hard to get ahead of 350, which is kind of disgusting to say, but it's the reality. That being said, the meta right now, everyone's just putting Django lead. He's now a 380 speed Kuiil. So I don't really think this is an area to slack. I think you push a much stronger counter, like I said, like a very, very, very fast Zam, maybe a very, very fast Mara Jade, or something like Bastila that just doesn't care about speed. So very, very relevant character. You're going to be pushing out counters that your opponent doesn't want to have to use, where they could use something much weaker if he is slower. Next topic, and this one makes me a little sad because I just changed this modding. Obviously, you want Piett to be very fast. This honestly isn't even new. But the reason why these two characters are here, the reason why they're here together, is because Piett for me, is the dominating character right now. He might even have my fastest speed set in the entire game, 176. Pretty much everything everywhere that I use troopers is defined by his speed. And the reason why these two characters here together is because for the longest time, I was running the Shaak Trooper counter to Lord Vader. This is really not, at least in the bracket that we're currently in, is really not relevant anymore. It's because with Bounty Hunters coming into the fold with Fennec, and we're not going to go deep into that, but people are not placing Bad Lord Vader teams, or at least not nearly as commonly as they were before. A month ago, we were seeing all types of crap, like a Gear 12 Stormtrooper, or like characters that weren't even Empire. We would see Sith Empire Trooper on there a lot, or Sith Assassin, just things that didn't make sense. And we were able to really take advantage and use a non-geo counter, really a non-geo counter that didn't overlap with anything else. That being said, nobody's leaving garbage, at least again, in the brackets that I'm in, nobody's leaving garbage Lord Vader. So we took Shaak down. She needs to be taken down more. I immediately went and saw where her mods could go, but I'm willing to shave off probably 20 to 30 more. You still want her decently fast. I like her very much in the JML versus Lord Vader so that she can immediately cleanse, but she doesn't need to be 360 speed to do that. 310, 305 does just fine. So yeah, get Piett honestly as fast as possible, then Shaak Ti, she can just be okay fast. Next one, and this has a lot to do again with the meta changing. Cara Dune, in the old meta, we'll call it that, there was no limit on how fast your Cara Dune would go, because she was going to be the fastest character on your entire team, and that was really, really pivotal to get the Mon Mothma team going. Now, with Kyle Katarn, he is going to dominantly go first. Like, there's nothing you can really do about it, at least in respect to his team. So he's going to be way faster, and he's going to go first. The reason why you can cut back on Cara down, and I think the magic number is going to be around 300, because Kyle Katarn at about 280, we won't do the whole map, but Kyle Katarn at 280 is going to be about 400 speed. That's enough to beat just about everything. There are a few exceptions to that, but the vast majority of counters, 400 is going to do it. That being said, if you get the turn meter from Scout, which if you don't, then this was all for nothing. But if you do, this amount of speed on her is what's going to be enough to clock her up to 400 speed to get your turn meter train going. So really, like 310, 320, 330 speed on Cara is, I mean, it's not going to hurt you, but it could be much better used elsewhere. That being said, the character that you really want your speed on now, and this really goes without saying, is Zam. This is all based out, and everyone knows where I'm going with this. This is all based out of her Omicron for GAC. She shares speed to her entire team. So you obviously still want the rest of your Bounty Hunter team to be semi-fast, maybe somewhere in the 300 ballpark, especially Boston Grief at least. But the higher she goes, the higher the entire team goes. So I need to get more speed onto her, because I've gotten to a point where it's pretty comfortable, but there are still teams out there that I'm not faster than, even as fast as she is. I think she's only like 333. Yeah, she could be faster. She needs to be faster. And that brings us to our last one. This one was one that I knew about for the longest time and just didn't do anything about it. And that is Wat Tambor. So Wat Tambor, for the longest time, he just had like a really high base speed. So we were like, oh, let's get him fast and get like multiple techs out at the same time. But really what happened was, because of JMK forced everyone, we'll stick with that word. He forced everyone to take Wat Tambor all the way up to R7, which seems kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, it gives him a massive amount of survivability now. that he's gonna take a second turn. Unless you're fighting against someone that has an obvious synergy against this, which in case speed doesn't really do much anyways, like CLS, then he's going to be able to get his techs out, and a ridiculous amount of speed really isn't warranted on him. So again, very similar to Cara, very similar to Thrawn. You can get him somewhere to the 300, 310 range, and he will pretty much function the same as he would at a 360 speed. It's really not super necessary to get him anywhere above that for him to get his second turn. Now, the character that really needs to have more speed, this is very similar to Dash, because how fast he goes determines how fast the entire team goes. And this is something that I think a lot of people knew for the longest time, and I just didn't. I had him sitting at a decent speed. I think it was like 350, but very recently I've chalked him up to 373 because I'm just getting to a point where there is no limit to how good he can be, especially on offense. This was brutal. This last month we ran into a Qui-Gon Jinn team where the Jedi Anakin was modded for like 320 speed, and there's just nothing we could do about it because Echo wasn't getting there. And not only was Jedi Anakin that high, but GK was at 310 and Cam was at 300, which, again, we're not going to do all the math, but they were all going to outspeed him. So I'm trying to mitigate that as much as possible. If I can only stop, or if Jedi Anakin can take his turn, that's okay, but I don't want 3 different characters to be taking a turn at the same time. I believe this is a modding that Skeltrix has done himself and is starting to become more and more popular. So again, I imagine that almost everyone listening to this aspires to have a fast Echo, but make him as fast as possible. A lot of these characters that we looked at here that are on the right side, like they can have a benchmark like 310, 300, whatever, that could be fine. But these characters on the left, they will really take as much as you can get them. So feel free to let me know what I missed. Feel free to let me know your speculation on what you think is going to be coming in the future, what is going to change with the meta. This type of things happens every month, every 2 months, so it's always interesting. Remember to like and subscribe, and as always, stay awesome.